Today, we have the pleasure of hearing from Scott Paul. Scott Paul is the CEO and founder of Woolly, a software company that grows brand advocates and communities. As a side hustle, he also manages an e-commerce school called Tangible. In the past, Scott has worked as a VP at Disney after selling his marketing agency to them in 2015. Currently, he lives on a ranch in Utah trying to figure out how to raise his kids and alpacas. In this session, Scott is going to show us behind the influencer marketing curtain. He'll explain how companies find influencers and how you can become an influencer yourself. We are so excited to hear from you today, Scott. Take it away.
All right, I'm excited today to have Scott Paul with us from Woolly. I'm somewhat familiar with the platform. I've actually been on a call. I forgot who it was with, but it was someone at your organization.
Okay.
Probably last year sometime. We're greatly interested in the influencer marketing space. We just added a new module to our Mimic Social simulation on influencer marketing. So it's really top of mind for us. We're excited to dive into that subject a little bit more and with Scott, and then also learn more about the platform. So Scott, why don't you tell us a little bit about Woolly, how you guys got started, what you guys do?
Yeah, well, I think I have to rewind to about 2013 and just tell a quick story. Actually, 2012, I was developing an app on the iPhone, kind of a social media app, and we ran into the what at the time was this new thing called like Instagram influencers, who were just kind of coming out of the woodwork. These individuals who would have hundreds of thousands of followers, and today this is commonplace. We all know what that is, but back in 2011-12, it wasn't common. And to get installs for my app, we ended up paying these people to talk about our app, and it was incredible. We had been for months trying to get downloads, and then all of a sudden we pay a 17-year-old, $20 to talk about our app on their, fashion account on Instagram, and boom, we'd have 3,000 installs immediately. And so this was my introduction to the power and the immediacy, the effect of this using these influencers. That app, we actually didn't continue to do it because we got so good at activating these new and up-and-coming influencers that we actually made a company around that called Instafluence. And Disney bought that company in 2015, and I had to go to work with Disney in LA and be in the middle of what was the, this growing industry of influencer marketers on YouTube and Instagram. At the time, there was some Vine going on before that was shut down. So I got to see this. I've been in the evolution of this since 2012, and what Woolly is today is what I would say the evolution of influencer marketing after these 7 years. It's the idea that every brand, every company should be doing something with influencers, but influencers aren't just those people that you see that have hundreds of thousands or millions of followers. Influencers are you, influencers are me. And so Woolly is, we don't even like to use the word influencer. We like to talk around the words like advocates and ambassadors, because influencers kind of connotes that there's some type of large audience or massive reach, but influence can happen when you have 200 followers, or just a family that follows you. And so we'll talk about that a little today. Cool.
So, really cool about the founding story of Woolly. I didn't know you were connected with Disney, so that's really neat.
That's where it started in LA, actually. While I was at Disney, it was a side project. So are you the founder, CEO of Woolly? Is that your role right now? Yeah, founder, CEO, team of about 20 here in the U.S. and Ukraine.
Oh, cool. What parts of Ukraine are you guys in?
We have 8 developers in Lviv, which is the eastern part, and got to go there last month, and it's my favorite, probably one of my favorite towns in all of Europe at this point. So
cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So let's talk about some of the big problems that you guys are solving. You kind of gave us a background of how you got started, but maybe from a company or a brand or maybe an influencer perspective, what are the problems that the Wooly platform is solving right now?
Well, the problem is, going back to Disney, I'll tell you a story about a brand that came to us. There's actually three that kind of have the same problem. The first would be when Subaru came to us, they wanted to do a campaign where they knew they could work with Subaru drivers and that also had big YouTube followings. Well, at Disney, we knew people that had big YouTube followings, but we didn't know what car they drove. And I was so surprised that they wanted to spend $2.5 million with us, and that they relied on us to have that type of data. Who actually drives their? I thought, what doesn't Subaru know who drives their cars and who has a big following? And so I saw a huge problem. And then what ended up happening is we bought some famous YouTubers, Subarus, and kind of faked it like that they were these, had been driving Subarus all their life. And so I saw a huge problem with brands not being able to know who's actually using their products and have influence. And they go through all these agencies to try to do this work, and it's fake and it's not authentic. Same thing happened with T-Mobile. No, not T-Mobile, but Sprint came to us wanting people that use Sprint. Well, we couldn't find anyone, so we just bought Sprint phones for all the biggest, buyers at the time, and they all did a 1 week with the Sprint phone doing cool things, and then threw it away and went back to Verizon, the next week. And this is a problem. This is not the promise that I felt influence marketing could do for us to actually. I think people want authentic. They want to see what people really like, what people really use, not just who's got the most money to pay them to use the product. So Wooly was born out of that problem. I thought maybe there's a way that a brand can actually identify the customers that they have who are not just users of their products, but also maybe they're talking about it on social, or they have a following on LinkedIn, a following on YouTube, a following on Twitter, a following on Instagram. And sure enough, in about 16, we were able to kind of reverse engineer the way that you search for influencers. And so what we would do is we'd get the brands, like let's think of an e-commerce company. We'd take an e-commerce company like Purple Mattress. A lot of people have heard of that. That was one of our first clients. We would take all the transactions that they've had where people are buying the mattress online with a direct-to-consumer company, and we would kind of do a lookup. From the email that they would purchase the mattress with, we could actually look up the data, the public information behind that email, and often email that you signed up with Twitter or Instagram with is public data. And so we would reverse look up all the emails of these customers and then attach or append to those emails their social handles. And it seems like a really simple concept, but what it ended up doing is that now Purple can look at its entire customer base and have a social CRM. They can see who's been purchasing and who are they on social. For a large percentage of their customers, we were able to enrich that, and that was all done with computers. We're not individually Googling every email, but it follows all the data. It's privacy. We're not going against any data privacy. It's public information, but that ability to look up your customers and see who they are on social now informs you of like, oh, interesting, we had Tim Cook or some massive celebrity buy from us. And so a lot of e-commerce brands use us to find out who are some of these interesting profiles that are using their products. And then something that I'll get to next is we realized that it wasn't just celebrities that were interesting to work with. It was the people there's just people that wanted to advocate and collaborate with you. And that could be the smallest, Instagram account out there, but someone that really cares and loves your brand. So today it's a much different product than where it was 3 years ago.
Awesome. So as a young adult or a student who just graduates, gets into their first job, maybe tasked on the marketing team and for whatever company they're in, they're looking at going into influencer marketing, or brand advocacy, whatever you want to call it. What are a few of the biggest mistakes you see a brand or a company make when they first make that decision to dive into influencer marketing, and how can that student maybe help steer them away from making those mistakes?
Yeah, well, I think some of the things that you can avoid is thinking, going to these networks. So these companies have made networks of influencers where it's kind of a gang of like, oh, we have this, you can come into our network and find and recruit influencers. Well, that's a lot of people go there, and just typically that's just not going to be a great place to find influence. These are people that are like trying to get money and work with brands, and they're usually not the right fit. They're usually, I'm going to call them professional influencers, or want to be influencers, where they're trying to make money and they're signed up to all these networks to try to get gigs. That's not what you want. You want to actually, if you're a student, you just got a job at some apparel company, or even called a home manufacturing company, or whoever. All these brands are trying to get to be significant on a social, and one of the ways to do social media is to not just always create the content yourself, but to have the customers create content. We call that UGC, user generated content. And the best way to source that is to just go to your actual customers and kind of ask them, hey, did you like the hot tub you just bought? Did you like how's your home? What was your experience with this service? How do you like this mattress? And you kind of just invite them to make content, whether they're influential or not. And so we just really advocate, I think a mistake you can make is just going and trying to pay existing influencers to do something for you, because first of all, it's going to cost you money. And usually when you pay that money, you're going to be paying a mercenary or someone that's already they're selling out their social account, and it's just not that authentic. So avoid that paid strategy and start with asking your customers. Start by getting out that Google sheet and developing a list of names and accounts that seem really either they're customers or they're people that are really in that targeted demographic of who you'd want to work with. If you're selling running shoes, go find a bunch of people that are talking and posting photos about running and trail running or whatever it is, and just kind of build your own list. So it's free. I mean, that's the thing that I think people need to keep in mind. It is absolutely free to get into the influencer marketing. There is no big pay gate or paywall that prohibits people from doing it. You can put a little bit of time and exercise into building up a Google sheet and then asking and inviting people, especially if you have a good product to work with. If your product has customers and has value, there are people out there that will want to work with you. So that's kind of what I advocate, is that just get to work. It's free to start, and it'll impress your bosses if you go out and do this work. If you go out and put together the first list of influencers or ambassadors or whatever you want to call them, if someone did that for my brand, I'd be quite impressed and pleased with them. So that's what I would go do if I got on the marketing team at a company out of college.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think the thing to note here, if you're a student and you mentioned this, is to first start with your customers, because I think naturally you're going to think, I'm going to go find my hashtags, and then I'm going to find the top accounts posting on those hashtags first and start there rather than going through your customers initially first. So I love that idea.
Yeah.
For a brand, okay, so I'm a student. I'm excited. I'm jazzed about leading this new program or being a contributing member of this influencer marketing campaign or program. What are some ways that you've seen through Wooly that companies and brands are tracking? Is it affiliates? Is it through affiliate sales? Like, what are some ways that an influencer marketing campaign can easily measure success with?
That's actually a great question, and probably the most sought after KPI or metric or ways people are trying to get ROI on these, a lot of acronyms, but they want a return on investment. If I'm going to invest money in influencer marketing or affiliate marketing, how do I measure that spend? And every company does this different, and it's really based on what are the objectives of a company. Some people care a lot about awareness, right? Big companies, I was talking to Hulu, and they were caring about brand lift and awareness. So they have a team that's all about just getting more mentions, more talking, more remarking happening on social media and reaching more people. It's kind of like a Super Bowl ad. You're buying reach. You're buying eyeballs. It's a media spin. So influencer marketing can be seen as that, or even just using your customers. You're just using them to get, to reach their 500 followers, and you're adding that up. We had 1,400 people post, times the amount of people that potentially reached or people that liked the comment. That's some number that we measure and see how well we did the week before, the month before, and we call that's for awareness. So those are easier because they're not tied to sales. But you have other companies that usually these are companies that have smaller budgets, are not as focused on branding, and are looking for transaction, right? They want to have you post about their shoes, and they want to sell shoes right then and there. They want to use a code and be able to track that we gave, a free pair of shoes to this influencer, or we paid this influencer, and the result was they moved 14 pairs of sneakers, and we paid them this cut, or we got this type of return on investment. Those are really the two basic ways that we see people approaching the problem of like how to measure, how to report the success. Obviously, and then some companies do both. Hulu actually has another project in a different team that's all about more subscriptions, right? So they want more subscribers for their influencer dollar spend. And it's the funny thing is, both, if you focus on awareness, you will still get sales. If you focus on sales, like just trying to do affiliate codes and stuff, you do have the effect of getting the awareness as well. There are people who won't buy, but keep seeing the product, and so they kind of blend into each other. But I'm always happier when a brand understands the value of awareness and consideration, and having the conversation out there, because they are not so tied to influencer marketing didn't work because we did it once and it didn't pay off on the sales we got immediately. Like, that's just short-sighted. That's like trying SEO for 1 month and then deciding it didn't work. You really have to seed these programs. You really have to go in with a long-term strategy and say, we are going to do this for a full year. We're going to build up a team that talks about us, not just once and then if they're gone, but like try to work with people who will actually kind of stay close to the brand for several posts or stories on Instagram and videos or here and there, and really seed the program and give it a chance to do well, and think about awareness and think about the transactional side of it, and realize that it takes 7 times to like actually get a customer to buy, and so you're not going to convert most of your customers on the first little code that you put out. So I do think it's more short-sighted to just be thinking transactionally on social media and doing influencers, and the better consumer brands that I've seen care more about the branding and awareness, and that's kind of the biggest takeaway. And at Disney, most of our work was awareness and consideration versus transactional type campaigns.
Okay, so let's flip sides here, and let's come at it from the student or the young adult side. So let's say I'm a student and I've got a certain interest in a category, whether that's lifestyle, fashion, fitness, outdoor sports, whatever that might be. But I want to become an authority. I want to become an influencer. What are some tips you have for me just to start off with? Like, let's assume I'm already on the socials. I already have a platform there. But maybe it's content related. What tips do you have for me to get started so that I'm attractable to brands in that space?
Well, it's funny because Wooly and the software like ours, we're looking for you. We're looking for customers that are talking about the brand. And so the thing you need to do is, first of all, be telling stories, like be active. So if you really want to do this, you have to have some cadence of posting, and the signal needs to be strong, meaning you can't just be posting about nothing and think that somebody's going to find you. You kind of have to start making a theme around who you are and what your personal brand is. And secondly, if you love products, and at the end of the day, the companies are going to pay you or hire you or work with you or make you an ambassador, they're often product companies. They have a good or service to sell, and you want to signal to them that you're there and you like their brand. So I think tagging, if you're out there and you're consuming food that you like at a restaurant, make sure you're tagging that restaurant and saying thank you and talking about your experience. Make sure you're out there when you get your brand new electric bicycle that you shout out Specialized and how much you love this thing, and not just once but several times when you're out making content in your mountain biking in the woods. So be thinking that these brands have systems like Woolly that listens to social media. We're looking and listening. We actually actively today listen for brands like Cotopaxi, Arc'teryx, Salomon shoes and skis, and so if you actually if you're using those products and then tagging them when you make content, we're going to find you. We're going to actually invite you into the family a little closer. Same with Blendtec, same with Purples. I mean, I can go down the list of the brands that are becoming aware of this, and they want to hear from you. And they have programs to turn you into a brand ambassador. So I guess the takeaway there is signal to these brands that you want to work with them. Secondly, I would say that you need to make sure that your feed isn't all over the place. If you're on social media and you're active, you can't just do everything all the time. And unfortunately, you kind of have to curate your own feed. And, once people kind of become influencers, they do two things. A close friend of mine is an influencer, and she has an account that's just made for brands. And then that's where she posts her fashion stuff and her, does all the filtering and photography. And then she has her personal one where she's posting family trips and doesn't think at all about the filters. And so if you're really trying to go at this and want to create a brand for on social media, a personal brand, you might have to kind of create two accounts. One that's because if you mix it up with your personal life sometimes and you don't edit stuff, that some brands like that heavy curated stuff, others don't actually. Mm-hmm. But just be thinking about what your theme is and how you're doing it. And I think the last thing would be just try to stay on theme, on brand. Don't if you have something if you're an outdoors enthusiast, it would be very awkward if you just all of a sudden start doing a bunch of unboxing videos for technology products. Yeah. Right. Make sure that you kind of have a theme. I mean, that's what brands are looking for. In a system that we used at Disney, everybody that we we categorized them. Every person we looked at, we would say, this person is lifestyle, this person is fashion, this person is technology, this person is gaming, this person is, we had it down to like ethnicity and, did they wear glasses? We had all these things that we would categorize. And so the brands are doing that, and they're looking, they're usually looking for people that kind of meet the profile or persona that they are trying to go after. And so the more your feed or your account kind of has that distinct, that I can look at it in 2 seconds and say, oh, this person is a female gamer making humor content. Like that's oh, perfect. Put them in the list. Put them in the talent sheet. We're going to go after them. Mm-hmm. So that's the other thing. Just kind of be thinking about that. If you really want to go after this in a serious way, create a category for yourself that you kind of stick to.
Okay. That's phenomenal advice. Great how-to, solid how-to gems right there. Let's lay out some expectations. So let's say I'm not coming into this as a student with like a large influence or a large following. Yeah. Kind of the progression. What does that progression look like as far as compensation? Is it, I purchase product from them, then they give me products, then I'm getting paid commission, and then they're paying me like a monthly retainer to promote? Like, what does that kind of, from what you've seen, what does that progression look like? I'm sure it's different with different brands, but maybe there's some themes out there that we can kind of paint a picture for students.
Yeah, I wouldn't have any illusion that becoming an influencer is like a job choice that you make. It's not. It's kind of a you have it or you don't. Yeah. It's even some of the biggest influencers that I work with have been doing it for a long time and pay photographers are barely making a living wage. So you're not doing this. It can be fun as a student to, have this on the side. You can definitely get free product. There's brands that want to, just get you product in exchange for a post or something. But, stay in school. don't quit the day job because you're gonna be an influencer unless you make content. Oh, sorry, I lost there for a phone call came in.
Oh, we're good. Yeah, we're still rolling.
Okay, guys.
Audio.
Yep, I'm back. Okay. Yeah, so don't quit the day job to become an influencer unless you have a plan to actually make content about how you're going to quit your day job and become an influencer. Now, that's kind of fun. I'd like to watch that. That'd be funny. So, yeah, it's the progression there is not really, like, there are people out there who are willing to coach you and train you and teach you how to make better content, lots of online courses. One of my friends at Disney has the name. It's MikeSocial.com, but Mike does, he does courses and teaches you how to do this, and he works with more influencers than anybody I've ever met. But that, at the end of the day, like, you got to really want that and be disciplined. It's not for everybody, and it's not going to be a high paying endeavor for unless you have that breakout. Much similar to going to Hollywood and trying to become an actress. So I would say that if you are just looking at the probably the easiest thing you can do, like I said, is find the brands that you love and just talk about them. And you might get a free barbecue grill, or you might get some free backpacks and stuff, and that could be that could satisfy maybe your itch to try this. But if you want to really go out there and do this professionally, it's quite the endeavor, and you kind of have to have the it factor and really know what you're doing and really resonate with an audience. But it's definitely possible. I wouldn't talk anyone out of it. Just don't go in there blindly thinking that it's like, oh, I'm going to be an influencer when I grow up. It's an interesting goal because I also think we're hitting a point where too many people are trying to become influencer, and it's the market is definitely saturated.
Yeah.
There's a lot of options now as a brand, or the money. There's not infinite money out there that's going to go to 1 million people who have accounts that have thousands of followers. It's not, the money pile isn't getting that much bigger, although a lot of money is going into this industry that was traditionally on television, going to media or other places. So it's definitely a fun place to be, but it's not everyone can make a living doing it.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think if we take a step back and just think of it like a normal occupation, a professional athlete doesn't just say they're a professional athlete, so now they're a professional athlete. There's lots of work, lots of practice, lots of hours, lots of coming up with unique spins and how they can be different within the crowd that they're in. So yeah, I love how you painted that picture of it's just it's not like you just wake up one morning and say I'm an influencer. But that there are some fun opportunities, especially for college students.
Well, I can say this much if I can interject.
Yeah.
The side that might be fun for a lot of people is every company, not just brand, but everybody is going to be taking this more seriously in the next 10 years, working with customers, working with influencers. It might be that you're on the insider marketing team, or that you want to have a company. There's other ways other than being the talent, you might or the creator. You could also be in the brokering side of it, or working at a company and helping them build up their program. Mm-hmm. And I think that's increasingly every company that we've onboarded for Woolly is actually hiring up and trying to bring in more of these people who know how to work on social media with creators. And I think it's going to be one of the most in-demand jobs coming up over the next 10 years is people who know how to do social media with the customers of a certain brand, and how to source and create content with customers versus all in-house, all high-paid, photography that you try to do. You just can't keep up if you're making all the content on your own. It makes so much more sense to send out your product and get photos from customers that are really good, often better than yours. So be thinking in a career that's going to be a place where if you're going into marketing, you definitely want to sharpen the skill set on this kind of influencer marketing space and creating storytelling with creators for a brand. So that I say is you could actually grow up and say, I want to do that, and you easily get a job.
Love it. I think that's a great way to round out this interview with Scott Paul, CEO and founder of Wooly. Scott, we appreciate you carving out just a few minutes of your time today and talk about influencer marketing and some of the cool things you guys are doing in that space at Wooly. So where can people go to check out what Wooly is doing at the .com socials? What do you have for us?
Well, I would actually say just Wooly.com. It's we're relaunching here pretty soon our whole messaging as a company in about a month or two. But Wooly, WOOLY.com. But for me, I've actually tried to build a little bit of a persona on LinkedIn, and so that's kind of my platform where I talk about experiences that we're having with our customers, where that stuff I'm seeing in social media and ambassador marketing, influencer marketing space. So follow me at Scott Paul on LinkedIn. You'll find me pretty quickly if you search, and I make a lot of content there that I'm trying to talk about this space in the way that I'm seeing it.
Awesome. Okay, well, we will link up those links in the show notes. Scott, appreciate your time today. Good luck at Wooly, and we're excited to see some of the fun things you guys are doing.
Hey, thank you.
All right,
Talk
see ya.
to you again. Yep, see you, bye.